I'm Annalise Dowd, and welcome to the first English 201 Computing in the Humanities video, Intro to DH and Using Hypothesis. In this video, my aim is to introduce you to the concept of the digital humanities, a term you likely haven't heard before coming into this course. I will then be showing you how to annotate and participate in scholarly discourse while in this class through the use of the digital annotation tool Hypothesis. You may have already seen the instructors page on the English 201 website, but here is a brief snapshot of who is behind the disembodied voice that you're hearing right now. My name is Annalise Dowd, and I'm the Access Services Librarian here at UNBC, with one of my main subject specializations being in English. I was lucky to have participated in digital humanities projects while I was in graduate school, so I'm really excited to get the chance to be the embedded librarian for this course. Being embedded librarian basically means that I will help instruct and answer questions throughout the duration of the course. The videos I create for this class will not be hour-long lectures, but instead will be short videos discussing some of the themes of the week with a focus on tangible tools. So something I really stress is feel free to contact me. Specifically, I can help with finding DH projects, tools, and methods, using tools such as Evernote, StoryMap, Timeline, writing metadata and markup, navigating digital libraries and archives, advising about copyright and open access, and helping to think through and revise your final project topics and methods. So right now, this might just seem like a lot of words that don't mean a lot to you right now, but don't worry, over the course of the semester, this will all begin to make a little more sense. Basically, feel free to contact me if you have a question about any of these things. You can contact me via Mattermost or email. I'm also available for appointments in person at the Prince George campus or virtually. So, on with the show. The humanities have been defined for centuries as the study of culture from the documents, objects, and artifacts created by humans. So, when we're thinking of the humanities, that's essentially what we're talking about. Some disciplines we often think of when we discuss the humanities are literature, history, philosophy, visual art, and anthropology. Historically, what these disciplines had in common was the study of the material. So whether it's a written text, a painting, or a relic from ancient times, they were all tangible objects. So classically, in doing the work of the humanities, which is researching and analyzing these materials, it required some sort of interaction with a physical object of study. So if the study of the humanities has been so focused on the physical, what are the digital humanities? Are they just digitized books and images? Well, that's not quite right. But if you're having difficulty figuring out what exactly the digital humanities are, so have scholars since the beginning of DH. In fact, if you go to whatisdigitalhumanities.com, there are over 800 different definitions of DH from those in the field. At first, it certainly feels more than a little overwhelming, and it can be incredibly easy to get bogged down in these debates of what DH truly is and isn't. Because of this, I think it's best to take a look at a definition that's broad, simple, and serves as a good starting point. I especially like the digital humanist Amanda Visconti's definition of what DH is. So in asking what is DH, Visconti states that DH is research, teaching, and learning about literature, history, the arts, so the humanities, in digital ways, so building and using software, websites, and data sets. But here's the key, that it uses humanities thinking applied to the digital. Therefore, there's still a humanistic analysis and a question being answered. So DH is more than simply digitizing objects and making them available. The analysis and visualization of these objects needs to serve a direct purpose and pose and answer greater questions about literature, history, and society. So this can be a little difficult to wrap your head around without some examples. So here are a few examples of the methods used to do DH work. Here on the left, we have a mapping visualization of the history of Chicano rights movement in the United States. On the right, we have an example of text analysis, looking at the fictional qualities of the novel over the span of 200 years, analyzing thousands of texts simultaneously. This especially is a great example of the type of work that would be inconceivable without these digital methods. If you think about it, manually reading and closely analyzing texts in the thousands is rightfully impossible for a single or even many researchers to do over a long period of time. A major aspect of the digital humanities is the fact that it's a community, both in terms of the fact that you're working collaboratively with others on projects, and you're also continuing the dialogue of humanities scholarship into the digital realm. In creating DH projects, you need to have a great deal of both humanistic expertise as well as technical, which means that working collaboratively becomes a necessity to share these skills. However, in terms of scholarship and discourse, this idea of interconnectivity and building upon one another's idea isn't necessarily new. When you think of a humanist, you might think of a solitary scholar alone amongst a stack of books, but actually scholars in the humanities have always been collaborative and in conversation with each other. In physical texts, one way that this discourse was manifested was in marginalia. So these are the comments, critiques, ideas, or even sketches drawn in the margins of texts. This practice is inherent to the humanistic tradition, as it allows one to comment on, question, argue with, and provide clarity, which is all important to the analysis required in humanistic discourse. Although librarians and teachers may have reprimanded you for marking up books, the practice of writing in the margins of texts has been reinforced by great thinkers for centuries. But now that a great deal of texts we read are online, how do we do the work of digital marginalia? One way is with online annotation tools like Hypothes.is, which you've been asked to use to annotate your required readings for this class. With Hypothes.is, you're able to not only create annotations directly in the text, but it's also a tool that promotes dialogue and communication, creating a community of users. So where if you highlight and mark up a physical book, these notes are primarily only for your eyes, or perhaps a select few that you choose to share it with or who discover it. But tools like Hypothes.is allow you to make the process of annotation into a dialogue. It's important to know Hypothes.is is by no means the only annotation tool. There are many, but Hypothes.is is chosen because it's intuitive, quick, and widely used. So for a quick demo portion of the video, I'm going to briefly show you how to use Hypothes.is for this class. Here we are on the Hypothes.is Get Started page. If you haven't already, sign up for your free account for Hypothes.is. You'll then need to add Hypothes.is to your browser. So if you're a Google Chrome user like me, you'll add the Chrome extension. If you use another browser, such as Firefox, Internet Explorer, or Safari, you'll use the Hypothes.is bookmarklet. So as always, I recommend that you use Google Chrome or Firefox, as these types of programs just typically work better in these browsers, but it should also work in Internet Explorer or Safari. Please let us know if you're having any difficulties with this. So for an example, we're going to take a look at one of our readings for this week and create an annotation. So here's digital keys for unlocking the humanities riches. As I'm in Google Chrome, this is my little Google Chrome extension for Hypothes.is up here. And we can see that our hypothesis annotation window is over here. So I'm going to log in, as you need to log in to annotate. So we see that there's one annotation, and that's actually from me from earlier. I highlighted one section of the text here. Here, I want to create an annotation. So let's say I found this paragraph particularly interesting. I'm going to highlight it and click annotate. Here's a nice text box that pops up, and here we can write our annotation. You will want to write something thoughtful, something that will analyze the text and create some sort of conversation, but for the sake of this particular annotation, I'm just going to say, this is a cool fact. Also, I'm going to add a tag. So tags essentially act as keywords, so if someone wanted to find your particular annotation on a topic, it's a good way for people to be able to search that out. So here I'm going to add digital humanities, and I already added it before, so it's down here. Then we're going to post to public. While Hypothesis is largely a public tool, you can also create private groups. You can also annotate simply for yourself, and it's completely private. Here we're going to post to public so everyone can see our annotations, comment on them, etc. All right, so this is published now. If I wanted to edit it, I could do so here. If I wanted to delete it, which I will, because this isn't a very helpful comment, I can do that here. And here's where I can reply. You can also share your comment here. Say if I wanted to find a post, and if there were many posts, we could also do a search. So you can search in the text. So say we're looking at scholarship. It brings up the text of the annotation that has the word scholarship in it. We might also want to just search by tag. So if you put the word tag and a colon, we can search digital humanities, and it will bring up this annotation with the tag digital humanities. So I'm going to delete this annotation, and we can do that here. It's also important to note that you can add a note to the page. So this isn't looking at one particular sentence or paragraph, but it is a comment on the entire work itself. So this is another way that you can create conversation, even if you're not looking at one specific sentence or paragraph. So that's a little bit about Hypothesis. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you do, you find that it's pretty intuitive and fun to use. So a big thank you to everyone for watching. Feel free to contact me on Mattermost if you have any questions about the class, the videos, or some of the topics that I outlined at the beginning of my video. Have a wonderful week, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thanks.